Tonight on the Black Channel, we're going to have a bit of a different discussion here tonight because I feel like it's necessary to do this. A little bit of historical context we want to put on the things here. Kamala Harris has a man problem, or should I say a problem with men. On NBC, Meet the Press, this was Andrea Mitchell talking about this, and it sets us up for where we're going here tonight.
I think they've got to double down on doing more interviews and serious interviews, because when I'm hearing from Democratic and Republican business people and a lot of men, and she's got such a big problem with men. I think there's an undercount of the Trump vote. I think there is misogynation in all of this, black and white men. Big problem, but also the business world. They don't think she is serious. They don't think she's a heavyweight. And a lot of this is gender, but she's got to be more specific about her economic plan.
Okay, and by the way, misogynation is a term. So that's what they said there. Hell of a thing for you to be hearing at this point. Needless to say, the comment section under there has gone insane. They are very, very angry about that whole thing right there. She has a problem with men. Well, this should be very, very interesting. This was today, October 6th, and this is on Kamala Harris's Twitter page. Also, today, she went on Call Me Daddy.
And I will be your protector.
She went on Call Me Daddy because the world doesn't have enough ignorant airheads. I guess Cardi B was not available today, so they went to Call Me Daddy. So, I mean, if you want the representative of the STD-riddled slut culture, ba-bam, there she is. And Kamala Harris decided to go there. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because if you take a look at this tweet, now these are Kamala Harris's words. These are Kamala Harris's words on her social media. Took a moment with Alexandra Cooper to see if we could think of any law that gives the government the power to make a decision about a man's body. The answer, no. So on her Twitter, asked and answered. This is the segment of the exchange that she chose to post.
I want to take a moment, and can we try to think of any law that gives the government the power to make a decision?
I know what you're going to ask.
About a man's body. Let's
No.
No.
Can you think of any laws that give government the power to make decisions about the male body?
Okay. By the way, very interesting. You have a Supreme Court nominee, now Supreme Court Judge, Brett Kavanaugh. Now, here's the thing. They said this immediately under there, after they said this, immediately under here. First of all, you're doing this instead of helping hurricane victims. This is just awful. But how about the military draft? Pretty sure that's about the biggest decision about a man's body you can make. I mean, sending us off to war. Let me guess. Doesn't count, right? Somebody else here. Selective service? You forgot about the draft? The answer is selective service. You forced men in the military to get vaccines, get put in their body fired from service. You force men in the military, you got to get a vaccine. Okay, Kamala Harris campaign still mandating employees get COVID vax. But by the way, and that's just one, this woman is sitting here, and we're talking about a lawyer. We're talking about a lawyer. Former Attorney General, she's not just any old person. She knows this, or at least you assume she knows this. That's a hell of a statement to make. So when Andrea Mitchell says that she has a problem with men,
They've got to double down on doing more interviews and serious interviews, because when I'm hearing...
They have to double down on doing more interviews and serious interviews. You mean...
I want to take a moment.
Going to go talk to Call Me Daddy isn't a serious interview? What? You mean that? So going to talk to Call Me Daddy doesn't qualify as a serious interview. Especially when you go up there and say this. Of course, it gets worse. Of course, it gets exponentially worse. Because you see, when you discuss abortion, abortion is a form of birth control. They use abortion as birth control now. Monstrous, bestial, barbarous. There is no way that the civilized mind can in any way defend such an animalistic practice. If somebody's immediate physical life is not in jeopardy, and that's practically never the case in modern medicine. But the other side of the coin that gets ignored here is, by the way, men don't have the right to an abortion. I got to touch on this tonight. I have to touch on this because when somebody says that Kamala Harris has a problem among men and, well, it's based on gender, excuse me. First of all, Andrea, just the whole birthing thing here, you just really should just bow out of discussion altogether. But if it's gender based, yeah, it's certainly because, by the way, as men, when you hear a woman who says she wants to be president of the United States say that, oh yeah, don't worry about that abortion thing. Don't worry about that selective service thing. Don't worry about that paternity fraud thing. Damn! Don't worry about paternity fraud. Don't worry about that altogether. That, you all do understand that's enshrined in law, right? Let me go ahead and back up to selective service. Now, here's the thing. The thing I really wanted to go into here before I get too far along. This guy's post right here, you figure, hey, he nailed it. What about the military draft? Now, here's the thing. When you go into the comment section, there's no draft anymore. A female. Doesn't even look like she's a citizen, but a female. There's no draft anymore. Her first comment. This is the Kamala Harris voter talking about, well, the men just don't like her because she's female. This is the Kamala Harris voter. There's no draft anymore. He said, yes, there is, dumbass. Go look it up. It's selective service. You see, as men, we know that. As men, we know. Because the draft was never removed. No, the draft doesn't have to be reinstated. The draft was never removed. This is the great sleight of hand of history. For those of you who don't know, the draft was never repealed. No, it wasn't. The draft has been altered. So instead of being automatic conscription, every male has to still register. It just doesn't get executed as automatic conscription, but we get penalized under law. What? The females on here don't know what that is. You all have never known a time that your bodies get penalized by law. We are. Remember, those ads used to play on the radio all the time. As men, if we don't register for selective service, we can't get student loans, government contracts. The federal government penalizes us. I know. I got one of those letters. I've told y'all about that 20 years ago. I got one of those letters that said, our goal is to register you, not prosecute you. That's what the letter said. Our goal is to register you, not prosecute you. But if you keep refusing to sign this, you could be subject to prosecution. And then you have a female jump up immediately here and talk, ain't no draft no more. No, there's not one for you, but then again, there never has been. That's why you can say this outrageously fascistic thing with a straight face in front of other adults, proudly, there's no draft anymore. Well, yeah, not for you. So, of course, you think the selective service laws are great. You think they're fine. Well, they don't affect you. And we made sure they don't affect them because, unfortunately, you all can go Google this. You all can go Google this in an absolutely shameful display by the U.S. Supreme Court. you do understand that just a few years ago now, the Supreme Court, men's rights activists took this to the Supreme Court to say that, hey, as men, we should not be subject to selective service because it discriminates. It says that men are subject to selective service and the draft, but females aren't. Don't you know that John Roberts Supreme Court, hello, Brett Kavanaugh? Don't you all know that they ruled that nothing wrong with selective service? What they said was that we think that we should leave what happens in the U.S. military in the hands of Congress. That should be subject to what Congress wants to do. Now, they've never said that about anything else, never said that about a single other thing. Comes to selective service, all of a sudden, Congress should decide what to do about that. The Supreme Court shouldn't really have jurisdiction over that. Congress. Now, when have you ever heard of a government agency saying, nope, we don't want power over that. We think somebody else should have power over that. When have you ever seen that occur? Well, it occurred here just a few years ago. Don't believe me? You can go Google it. Oh, yeah. And Andrea Mitchell and your national news media didn't say a damn word about it. They didn't point that out. Isn't it amazing? A Supreme Court decision of earthquake proportions and significance. And your national media did not say a word. You are not on your way to George Orwell's 1984 and complete sequestration of information. You're already neck deep off in it and been there for decades. With a woman who wants to be president of the United States telling you that doesn't exist, proudly on Twitter saying it. And then got a comment section of individuals talking about, yep, that doesn't exist, that's not there, till they got themselves clapped over it, but they didn't even have the decency to get rid of that. That happens. Would you like me to go further? I will. As a man, the law, it is upheld in law that a man has no sexual rights that have to be recognized. What? As a man, if you have sexual relations with a female, you can have consensual sexual assault done to you. Remember, the NBA and the NFL had to tell their players that if you're going to be laying up with these hoes, you got to go flush your condoms because she can go and if she takes a condom out of the garbage can and gets herself pregnant without your consent, you can be subjected to being financially obligated to her against your consent. She can continue the sex act without your consent. Kamala Harris has never said a word about this. Then again, your national news media has never said a word about this either. Now, it's not like they don't know. Why, Vice asked almost a decade ago, should men be able to opt out of fatherhood? Now, I want you to think about that headline there for just a few moments. Call me slutty. I would like you to think about that headline there for just a few moments. You have a sitting lawyer who's got her law degree for decades now, and yet, by the way, you already know this right here on your screen. This is the law of the land now, that men cannot opt out of fatherhood. They're asking, well, should men be able to? Now, no one is questioning if females should be able to opt out of motherhood, right up to and including if she drops the baby off at a fire station after the child is born. While everybody's talking about 9 months abortion, by the way, no. Her ability to opt out of motherhood doesn't stop at birth. Even after the child is born, they can just drop the kid off at the fire station and hands free. Now, men cannot do this. Only the female can do this. The father of the baby cannot pick the baby up and go to a fire station and drop him off and then say, oh, well, too bad about fatherhood there. I ain't trying to have it. Men can't do that. How is it that Jason Black knows this and call me slutty, doesn't know this? Well, with an airhead like her, of course, she wouldn't. But Kamala Harris is a different matter. She does know. Now, Kamala Harris does know this. Oh, yeah, one more thing. By the way, you old cobweb-covered heifer, Andrea Mitchell, you know this too. So this certainly is not about you being egalitarian. It's certainly not about that. It's about oppression. It certainly is that. But this isn't about what you don't know. Andrea Mitchell knows this. And all of the outdated ovaries sitting around her table, they know this too, with their monochrome colored outfits there, looking like the Ministry of Disinformation come to life. This is frightening. And yet all these females here, we're not going to have a conversation about something that you obviously know that the Supreme Court has repeatedly upheld. Well, you know this, and yet you're not saying this. New York Times, is forced fatherhood fair? The same year we were talking about Trayvon Martin. By the way, New York Times, is forced fatherhood fair? Now, could you imagine, is forced motherhood fair? That it would be posed as a question. That's what I'm trying to get y'all to understand. Could you imagine this being posed as a question for females? Is forced motherhood fair? It would be forced motherhood, an evil that must be abolished. And nobody is forced into motherhood. But for men, it's, well, should you get that? Well, very hard for us to do when you can go to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court can uphold male subjugation and say that your body does not belong to you. This is not me making this up, by the way. All of you are listening to this right now are welcome to go Google it if I'm making this up. By the way, why is Google telling you that what I said is absolutely factual? What you need to be asking is, by the way, why is this not being shouted from the rooftops by every media outlet out there? They're not saying that because a docile male population will do what all governments really want. All government structures need a compliant male population. Revolutions are not launched by the females. Complaints are launched by the females. Protests are launched by the females. Armed revolts and armed rebellions have never in the history of mankind been executed or launched by the females. Armed uprisings are always 100,000% of the time. Every uprising in the history of the Homo sapien species has been initiated by the males, which is perfectly fine if the government doesn't like who you're going after. You know, like when they went around lynching black folk in this country. What? Well, that's fine. But, you know, sometimes you males, what we really need for you to do is just produce. We need you to produce widgets. We need you to produce food. We need you to produce productivity. We need you to produce children. Why, take a look at China. Take a look at China. If you all want to know what the perfect idea is in the minds of this misandrous cabal, and Kamala Harris, who doesn't have any children of her own, while she talks about abortion, controlling a woman's body from a woman who's never had any children. Nobody can force you to be impregnated, but you can force men to be impregnated. Well, by law, they've upheld that. Oh, well, You shouldn't. If once you had sex with her, oh well, that's it. If she can score a kid by any means, there we go. Kamala Harris has never jumped up and said, let me put that judge in jail. Now they'll take a black judge here, and if they don't like what he says to a kid in the courtroom, while the black judges, while we know how to pull your credentials immediately, doesn't take an act of Congress, doesn't take a governor, they jump on you quick, fast, in a hurry. But for the white folk, all of a sudden, gears of justice move slow. Same old song and dance. A dominated male population is the preferred situation for a government because dominated males will simply produce, but they are of no threat to the power structure itself. Tim Walz is the definition of the dominated male. Your government now is overflowing with dominated males. Even choosing Brett Kavanaugh went to the Supreme Court, and what the hell did he do? A man falsely accused by females, he goes to the Supreme Court right in line. So what does that show you? That's the way the game is played. Some of them get hazed a little bit, but once they've been through that, then they go ahead and snap back into form. They didn't choose you because they didn't know what you were going to do. They chose you specifically because they knew what you were going to do. You don't have people standing up for that. That doesn't occur. You don't have them standing up for that. That doesn't occur. So you see, when we hear things and see things, there's stuff about folk that ain't right. We can see when somebody is not serious and sincere. Now with Kamala Harris, she's very serious and sincere. And I find this all very interesting when you're talking about these females who don't even have the ability, forget the desire, they don't even have the ability to procreate or have children. And yet, they are the biggest folks sitting up here stomping for it. Childbearing is nowhere in their future, and yet they are the most militant, outrageous, radical revolutionaries for it. How does that make sense? It can't be on the basis of having children. That can't be it because they're against it. It must be on the basis of power. Now that's what these things have been twisted and turned into is, oh, well, this does give you power over other people. And we found a judicial backdoor where the government will ignore the Constitution and ignore the Bill of Rights and ignore your right to privacy and will ignore all the 13, 14, 15 Amendment. We'll ignore all of that because, yeah, we found another way. Oh, well, we didn't really find it, but power does what it wants to. And then you ask why this creature has a problem with men and why men have a problem with her. By the way, Andrea Mitchell, one more thing here while you're talking about Kamala Harris and women. What you didn't mention was, by the way, has anybody asked Kamala Harris yet to define what is a woman? What? Isn't that amazing? If you all want to know what would have been the debate killer moment for Kamala Harris, it would have been if anybody anywhere had simply asked her, Vice President Harris, will you please define for us what is a woman? You see, they wanted Joe Biden out. We already explained that. We covered that in the previous programs. They wanted him out. They want her in because, I mean, she is the most obedient lapdog you can imagine. She's just a puppet. If you grabbed her by the neck and shook her, you would hear her brain rattle around like a golf ball in a soup can. They know what they have there. She's the most compliant person in the room. Whatever they tell her, that's what she goes with. And now they want everyone else to be the same. Please understand, yeah, the government shouldn't tell you what to do with your body unless Pfizer and friends come up with what they claim is a vaccine. And then they tell everybody else, by the way, you need to act stupid going forward. Stupid going forward. By the way, all these young people in their 20s dropping from heart attacks, LeBron James' son, all these young people in their 20s having cardiac issues. Right after the pandemic, you see a spike in them. And Andrea Mitchell and NBC and the rest of them telling you, who says that's related? I mean, even though a side effect of those things is, what's the connection? Right there in front of your faces. Right there in front of you. Saying that what you see isn't what you see, and that 2 plus 2 doesn't actually equal 4. It equals 5 or 8 or 12 or whatever we think it is today. That's what it equals. You need a compliant population for that, man. You need a compliant population that will sit there and allow Nancy Pelosi and her husband to engage in blatant open air insider trading, and nobody's coming and slapping the handcuffs on them yet. Why do you think they are so dogged and determined? Abortion this, abortion that. They want a strong female support base so that they can keep engaging in the stuff they've been doing. These folks be doing all kinds of stuff out there. They don't give a damn what's happening with you. You show up, you vote, you keep that rolling so they can keep the train moving how they want it to. That's what it's about for them. The feds are lined up for P. Diddy. You got whole YouTube channels that have documented what Nancy Pelosi and her husband have done for the last 2 decades. The feds ain't showed up for them yet. Oh, but then again, who's in the White House? Oh, the White House got dirt on her, but she got dirt on them, so you got a circular firing squad there. They both got the guns to each other's heads, holding each other hostage, so if there's a tiebreaker, it's got to be somebody else. Enter George Clooney. Yes, how the hell can it be that a so-called comedian, Hannibal Buress, can get the law going after Bill Cosby, and yet you've got YouTube channel after YouTube channel, Twitter feed after Twitter feed, Instagram after Instagram talking about Nancy Pelosi, and nobody has said nothing? There isn't a district attorney, a state attorney general, U.S. attorney, so this is their job, the SEC, this is their job, this is what they do for a living, this is their profession, and ain't nobody come for them yet. Yeah, no wonder they sit up here yelling and squawking about abortion all damn day. Not like Nancy Pelosi gonna have any kids at all, thank goodness. Not anymore. Yeah, there's a reason that they do that. There's a reason that that happens. It's all over the place here. The other thing here is, by the way, yeah, a little bit sicker population, we can go with that. A little bit sicker population, we can go with that. It's perfectly fine. We can live with that. Some of you think we can't. No, not true. We can live with it. We can. Gotta break a few eggs to make an omelet. Gotta break a few eggs to make an omelet, and certainly we can go ahead and get that taken care of. Because having you docile is essential to what they're going to do. But then again, this is a long-standing practice, particularly among these European governments here. This is a long-standing practice of that. A lot of the folks don't think of it in those ways. They don't think about it like that. But it really is. It really is, because if you're not aware of it and how that works, please remember, Aristotle. Yeah, Aristotle talked about that. You want to go over your philosophy? Let me tell you about something they don't teach you in philosophy class. Aristotle talked about this thousands of years ago. That governments, he talked about this thousands of years ago, about how governments love foreigners. You're just now hearing it brought to you in the modern age, but by the way, they talked about this thousands of years ago. They love that. They've been doing that forever. Why? When you hear about mercenaries, The whole thing is because mercenaries are not actually invested in the society in which they're going to go fight in. They will fight, they will die, but what they won't do is become invested in that nation. They came to get a bag. Soon as their job is done, they leave. So they prefer foreigners. This is why Kamala Harris, speaking of foreigners. What? Yes, they prefer foreigners because foreigners never look to come in and overturn the status quo. They wish to preserve the status quo. It is only the citizenry that has been there by birthright and has acclimated and sees it as their birthright. Those are the troublesome ones. Those are the problematic ones. While you're illegal aliens, they are controlled, they don't really have rights. But when they do come in, they're not looking to overturn the established order. They are looking to join the established order. So you see, governments love doing that, especially when the native population begins to get contentious and begins to turn its eyes and its gaze towards the aristocracy. When the proletariat turns its eyes on those in power, that's when those in power start looking to outsource the citizenry. They start looking to get a citizenry from somewhere other than y'all folks. Anyone other than you. You're asking the wrong questions. You've gotten too entitled. You expect too much. Let's bring in some new folk who don't see things the way you do, and most importantly, new people who don't have the grudge against the existing power base that the current citizenry does. That's why it is so essential to bring in some new folk. You folks who've been here for a while, you've developed a grudge against those in power. We need some new folk in here who don't hold the same grudge against us you do. This is why we, the descendants of the freemen, this is why we have to speak up in this regard, because this is why they've churned that in there to bring in individuals who do not have the historical experience that we do, in the hopes that they can extinguish that grudge, burying it under other people. Not because they dealt with the problem, but because, well, we'll just drown you out. You're damn right you have a problem with that. Andrea Mitchell does not want to speak about what the problem here is, because Andrea Mitchell, like I say, she's been surviving on her connections all this time. She's been surviving on her connections all this time. Folks, there's a reason why certain folks can get on television and certain ones of us will never get on television, because, yeah, Jason's going to ask one or two sentences and then that will be the end of their entire building. Yeah, not going to have that. Let's be clear about this. These folks who've been in media for all these decades, they're aware of every single word that I said. But for them, remember, she married Alan Greenspan, I think it was. It doesn't get more entrenched power than that. Absolutely, keeping you in line. I want y'all to understand, when these people get up in the mornings, they know what the deal is. They know what the drill is. They've always known. For those of you who never watched Game of Thrones, you remember the Sparrow. He had a famous conversation with Elena Tyrell, when he told her that you are the few, you the rich. He was among the peasants. He was a teacher among the peasants. She was with the rich and the aristocracy. And he said, you rich folks, you are the few. We, the poor, are the many. And when the many stop fearing the few, and then he just shrugged his shoulders. That is the way it has always been, folks. The aristocracy has always been the few. The proletariat has always been the many, have always outnumbered them. decades now. We have gone over this here on the Black Channel. So many states in America, Georgia, the Carolinas, the black population outnumbered the white population. The slave population outnumbered the white population. Several states, not just one or two, we outnumbered them. I'm not talking about you guess we did, or you estimate we did, or you think we did, or you feel we did, or, they'll be counting them numbers right. The census, their census showed, oh no, you outnumber them in several states, several slave-owning states. We outnumbered them every day. Why do you think that putting down even the threat of rebellion or uprising was the first order of business? Dude, they outnumber us 2-1, 3-1. The only thing preventing them from walking up here, killing all of us, and walking to their freedom isn't the shackles around their ankles. That ain't doing it. That can't do it. The shackle around their minds is the one doing it. That's the one that's keeping them in line, not the one around their ankles. And that's when they realize we don't need shackles around their ankles. Once you have a shackle around their minds, you don't need a shackle around their ankles. Furthermore, the shackle around their ankles isn't what's keeping them there anyway. We can't have tremendous profits if we limit the number of slaves we have. Therefore, you're going to have a large slave workforce to deal with here. You can't rely on leg shackles. You can't rely on that. We need too many of them. It's not feasible. Shackle their minds. Make them mentally subservient. Make them look up to you not as master. That is an adversarial relationship. Have them look up to you as father. What? Go in and establish yourself as the mother, even if you ain't got no kids.
Auntie, chill.
Even if you don't deserve to have any kids. Damn. Need I remind you all that that is the system they have put in place, and when the oligarchs got in charge in this country and started setting up your school curricula, that's exactly what they replicated there. When we started having organized schools in America, what's the first thing they did? While you have a classroom full of children and you put a woman in front of them. They called them the headmistress. They called them all kinds of names. Mother Superior if you're at Catholic schools. Why, the government sets up a mother for your children. They got a mama at home, but this is a mother we can count on here at the school. Complete with the powers to bend your child over and spank them. Now they got a lot more than that. I've talked about this before, but let me take a moment here to remind you all, for those of you who are unaware or have forgotten about this, do you realize what the psychologically damning binding effect that is? Because many of you, myself included, we've experienced it. Why, this wonderful, kindly woman at the head of the classroom. Why, after a while, you would kill or die for that woman. Assuming, of course, she has not established a negative adversarial relationship with you, but particularly for those of you in elementary school. Few of you have negative thoughts about your kindergarten teacher. Now, by the time you got to that heifer in 3rd or 4th grade, it might have changed a little bit. But kindergarten, 1st grade, there's not a one of you that has a negative thought about that woman. Not a one of you. You weren't even mature enough or able enough to realize what a negative thought should be. When you go back and take a look through your childhood photo albums and there they are, why, that's second mama. You have nothing but motherly, matronly feeling and connection for this person. Okay, but she doesn't represent your family. She represents the government. I remember as a child in our textbooks, Believe it or not, in Louisiana, when I was a kid in our textbooks, we were taught about Connie Chung. What? No, seriously. That she was the first Asian American news anchor. That was in our textbooks when I was in elementary school. Connie Chung and Lee Trevino. I don't remember Dr. King or Malcolm X, but I do remember that they were teaching us as little children about Connie Chung and Lee Trevino. Those were in the textbooks in Louisiana. I'm talking about for first graders and second graders. Those were in the textbooks in the state of Louisiana. I remember it because I was one of those children. I'm not telling you what somebody else told me. I'm telling you what I lived and I saw. So when I hear about Connie Chung and she's retired now and whatnot, I'm like, by the way, yeah, can't forget Connie. She was the first one we were taught about. Yes, Connie Chung and Lee Trevino. Yes, Lee Trevino. It talked about him getting struck by lightning. So do you realize how quickly they must have printed off those textbooks to have that information in there? Oh, they were serious. And I'm sure that others, that's just Louisiana. I can only imagine what some of you 40 years ago or so were seeing in your textbooks then after integration, when they started updating them and saying, okay, we need to change how we do this to indoctrinate them differently. I can only imagine what those of you in other states were seeing. Is that an error? They go grab you young. You get indoctrinated young. And the idea of setting them up as a familial structure to you young, that's very important. You ain't gonna fight your parents. Let me go even further, y'all. Let me tell you, that was just at your public schools. I'm about to get deep off in this thing right now with you all. I'm about to get to a crazy ass level with you all. Let me go ahead and take this down because I want to go ahead and drop it on you in a manner in which you can't dodge it. I don't want you to be able to dodge this very much here. I want to go ahead and drop this on you differently because I don't want you to be able to get away from it. But you're about to feel this. You all are about to feel this in a serious way. Brace yourselves. You don't think that you've been indoctrinated? You don't think it was successful? You don't think they pulled it off? You don't think that you have the exact same feeling? Let me show you your second mother. What? Damn! While all of us remember Sonia Manzano, get that damn thing over here. All of us remember Sonia Manzano. Every single one of us in here remembers Maya from Sesame Street. Every single person in here, you all remember her. You ain't got a negative feeling, negative thought. Everything about that woman is completely motherly and matronly. Every single one of us. You want to talk about bulletproof? If that woman told us this is the person you go vote for, you're going to have a hard time telling her no. You're going to be sitting there, oh, well, look, Maria, Mama Maria, baby, look, it's like this right here. You see? You'll be sitting there arguing with her. You'll have to. You got no choice in the matter. None. I don't think she's on Sesame Street anymore, but so some of you 9/11 babies, you might not remember, but everybody before that. If that woman give you marching orders, I'll be damned. I'll be damned. Okay, but do you all remember where Sesame Street came from? For those of you who don't know what the genesis of Sesame Street is, Sesame Street was one of those things that was specifically created for black children. What? Don't believe me, they said it. Sesame Street was created specifically to be a, quote, educational outlet specifically for urban city black children. The federal government created that television show, and then all the kids were parked in front of it before they had cell phones. Now they're parked in front of Instagram. I don't know which is worse at this point. But by the way, Sesame Street was specifically set up for that. That's what I'm saying. It was one of those. That one, Electric Company, Power Company, all the other shows they had, all of them had a similar agenda, but this was their crown jewel. This one right here, Sesame Street, was their crown jewel. Folks, do you realize that they had an army? They had an army of psychologists that worked on that show, developed that show, came up with the teaching strategies, and of course, the Muppets. Damn! Can't get away from that one. Those are still very much alive and well and making a bunch of money. Tickle Me Elmo, whoever the hell else. I don't even know what the hell they got now. They got little gay ones on there now. So I'm like, okay. By the way, the Little Muppets, Jim Henson and friends, made a lot of white folk rich and a lot of black kids indoctrinated. This has been a strategy that they have known forever. The Sesame Street was really a product of a group of psychologists who were given the task of creating a program that would develop and attain a specific goal. And to his credit, some of y'all in there remember, to his credit, Bill Cosby, and what was that, Talking Picture Book? He had that and some other things. He understood this. So he tried to get in on that because he wasn't the only one who realized, by the way, black folk were real suspicious at that time back then. So there were a bunch of black folk who knew what the federal government was doing with this. Yeah, it can have some positives, but this could also be used against us. We understood, well, this could be used positively, but this could also be weaponized. You can't name a equivalent of Sesame Street that was aimed at the white kids. The white kids talk about Big Bird. The black kids talk about Maria and Gordon. They have long understood that if you are gonna shackle minds, do not come to them with this adversarial master-servant relationship. A person will naturally resist you up to and the point of death. Freedom is more important to them than their lives. What you don't want is that. You want them docile, you want them subjugated. Yeah, you want them on the short end of the stick, but you don't want them feeling that they must fight for their lives, because a person who is willing to die is willing to kill. And that's when you start losing whole societies. So you want to keep them subjugated, but you can't keep the boot on their necks to the point that they're afraid they're going to die, because now they're going to start fighting back. No, a master cannot do that to a servant, but an abusive parent can do that to their child if the child feels that the parent is invested in them. Well, you're overstepping your boundaries a bit. You're being a bit excessive, but that's still mom. Yeah, she is kind of rough on me sometimes. She's kind of tough, She kind of don't treat me right. She treats the other kids over there a lot better than me, But, she come hug me every once in a while. She come give me a hug and say, I only whoop your ass because I love you, baby. Well, she's still mom. Yeah, sometimes I don't feed you, but it's only because you be tearing your ass sometimes. I gotta get on you. Mm-hmm. Do you understand when you talk about things like, oh, I'm gonna go there, the CIA? Everybody wants to talk about MK Ultra and whatnot. People, do you understand when you talk about the psychological experiments of the CIA and the FBI and the Department of Health and Human Services, because everybody's doing that kind of garbage? Do you understand that we have been the consistent target of so many of these things? There's a reason why we can't get documents open. Do you want to go and do the research that shows you connections between Sesame Street and the CIA? Now that one right there would kick open every beehive known to man, because remember, the CIA is not supposed to operate domestically. That's the whole reason that they had to create the FBI. And there's supposed to be a distinction between FBI and CIA. CIA is not actually supposed to operate domestically. They're actually not supposed to. Well, they're supposed to deal with foreign threats, which is why they need to make sure that you're a communist. That's the whole reason why every time you turn around, the CIA, whenever they were targeting black folk, they kept coming up, J. Edgar Hoover, and them talking about, oh, there's a communist connection. They're communists, communist connection, communists. Yeah, that's their excuse. Oh, you're acting on behalf of a foreign government or foreign agents. You're communists. So it's okay for us to investigate you domestic people, domestic citizens, because, oh, you're communists. Now you know why that word keeps getting used. This is why we got to refresh people on this, because people don't have forgotten. They don't know. They don't know what the reason is behind these things. You think the CIA can do whatever. Actually, they're not supposed to, but that's their rationale. If they can accuse you of working with a foreign government or having a foreign government agency agenda, that's their excuse. Oh, we're not investigating you. You're working with them, so we're investigating them, but you're a part of that, so now we can get all of you. That's how that works. That's why declaring Dr. King a communist, that was the first thing they did. And you're like, communist? What the hell that got to do with anything? Because that gives the CIA, FBI, and everybody else the excuse now to go after you. Now everyone can go in on you. You have no rights. Now you all know why. Many of you already knew, but for those of you who nobody's refreshed you on this, and people don't do this, your YouTube channels don't do this, but that's why them injecting that word communist has been so damn essential. Many of you understand this in the modern era, why saying terrorist is so essential. We have to declare you a terrorist because that removes all your rights. Now everybody can investigate you, everybody can look into you, and everybody can try to figure out some way to pin something on you. What would be legal for a citizen to do under normal circumstances? Oh, you're working on behalf of the foreign government, you're hooked up with the foreign government? Oh, now it's illegal. Now we got you. And if you're going to do such a thing and get away with it there, you're going to have to package it with a individual that you think can do that kind of stuff there.
Fine.
And can they sit there and walk around with that? So let's go find you a matronly older female. She seems to be soft-spoken there. She appeals to your immature, misandrous things. By the way, they bring one of these to come and lead you down the primrose path. And this chick here, the jury is still out on her lineage. What? I don't mean her lineage to us. I mean the jury is still out on, by the way, are you sure she's black? I'll leave that alone for right now. But by the way, if you want my official positions, and by the way, Jason, what is she? Jury's still out. Jury is still out. The reason that she has a problem among men, Andrea Mitchell, is because as much as this comes to your chagrin, we as the men, we are the protectors and the providers. That is what we do. And we have a natural sense and inclination when we detect a threat to the group. We immediately tense up. We immediately go on guard. All we got to do is look at you and we can see this isn't right. This isn't reliable. As the men, that is why we are always the vanguard. And that is why Andrea Mitchell is afraid and angry. And this is why all the other misandrous cabal up there are afraid and angry, because they have conditioned you to think that you're supposed to follow whoever they tell you your leadership is. The ones that they sent you, the ones that they set up, the ones that they have invested all this time and money in putting in front of you. That's who you're supposed to be listening to. You're not supposed to be listening to the men who lay down life and limb for your protection and your regard. Don't listen to them. Listen to the three of us cackling mammies up here in New York City who don't know of you and don't give a damn about you and don't live among you and don't have to take care of your situation. Listen to us. Why, get on Twitter and pretend that you have some connection to us, as a matter of fact. Let's just be really goofy. This is what it's about. If you all agree, give me the television emoji in the chat room. And hit the likes button for me. It's over 4,700 people in here live right now. But if you agree with everything that you have heard during this program, give me the television emoji and hit the likes button for me. There isn't a single word, a single syllable that I've stated here today that anybody can argue with. All of it is documented fact. You can be the biggest white supremacist on the planet. It is absolute fact. You can be the biggest feminist on the planet. It is absolute fact. There isn't anything I've said that can be argued with, nor disputed, nor debated. All you can really do is just say, well, propaganda is good for the government. Okay, well, you go make that argument. What you can't say is it's false. You can't say it's wrong. Now that you can't do. They are afraid to death because as the men go, so goes the rest of the society. As the men, we have made cogent, irrefutable arguments, and even if the boat begins to turn slowly, it begins to turn. Andrea Mitchell and NBC and the rest of them are terrified that you're going to wake up and we've done just enough to start to shift it. Remember, I have taught you all over the course of 2 decades. We don't have to be 50% of the population. We just need to be 10% because every scientific study of sociology has shown that once something hits 10% of the population, it is a mathematical inevitability that that will become the prevailing majority train of thought once it rises to 10%. Reparations used to be a 1% thing. It's well over 10% now, which means they understand it is a mathematical inevitability. It is no longer a question of if there will be reparations. There is only a question of when and how the reparations will be distributed. It's no longer a question of if. It's beyond dispute. Then when they realize that we have gotten organized and on code, we don't have to get the majority of the population organized and on code just enough. Jason has already told you all what the numbers are. Remember, Joe Biden won the last election by 48,000 votes. 48,000 votes. The number of people that you have put in one NFL stadium, 48,000 people. That's all he won by. Not 1 million, not 100,000, 48,000. The state of Georgia, he won by 10,000 votes. 10,000. That was it. So what that tells you is that a shift of only 2 or 3 percentage points and it's over. Especially if they wake up and realize that this happened as a direct result of an organized, coordinated social movement. And that all of their pipe dreaming on social media and flooding the zone and claiming nobody's hearing that, if it still breaks that way, just understand it becomes pandemonium and panic over there. If you want to know about the biggest political and social earthquake that we have witnessed since the civil rights movement, let Kamala Harris lose this election. and you will be witnessing the biggest social political earthquake you've ever witnessed. And when they go take a look over the numbers, if they see that we simply stayed home, if they see that that's what occurred, please understand we go to the front burner. Now, I want to update some of these things here.
Join me, and I will complete your training.
It's essential that we make sure that you all are up to code on this, because as the situation develops, being here on the razor's edge of informing you all, please remember that I told you all there that, the problem was with Joe Biden bowing out, Kamala Harris would be such a weak candidate that if she lost the election, they would then claim, well, it's not because of black folk, it's because of something else. Well, that's what 2 months ago in July. I want to give you all my official update. Because in the last 45 days or so, Kamala Harris has been boosted to the moon by the corporate media, Hollywood, everybody out there who possibly can, to try to put her in front runner status. So the handicap of Joe Biden, they can no longer claim that that's a headwind against her anymore. So if she loses this election, you won't be able to say the Biden argument. You can't claim that he was a negative or a demerit against her, or that he was holding her back. They won't be able to say that. So, folks, if she loses this election, please understand the postmortem is going to directly look at us. They will be looking at the black vote. They will be telling us, y'all niggas should have shut up about reparations. There will be a groundswell of anger, hostility, and rage that will make what happened with Proposition 8 out there in California look like child's play. They are going to come at us. They are going to come blaming us. They are going to come looking directly at us. They are going to make first they're going to make a subtle assault against us. Then they're going to move on to a full frontal assault against us. So please understand what is going to happen now. If she wins, they will declare that we are irrelevant. They will be wrong, and they'll know they're lying, but that's what they'll declare. And they'll pray and hope that 2028 doesn't turn out worse. But if she loses, all eyes are going to start turning and gazing in this direction. They're going to start asking us what's wrong with us. They're going to try to prop up their media mouthpieces. They don't have any of any significance. They're going to start trotting out their hit pieces. They're going to start sitting up with their shaming tactics. Roland Martin is going to have to hit the treadmill. They are going to be yelling and screaming and claiming that the problem is us. The problem is us. Because when you take a real loss and you really do get hit in them ribs, and it really does crack them internals, and oh, you felt that one. It's like, wow, what if this is just the start? Can we really survive 4 years in the 4 more years in the wilderness? We can no longer rely on that black vote, because the baby boomers, civil rights generation, their sentiment no longer holds sway. This generation, the numbers have tipped to a critical mass that isn't voting for acknowledgement or integration anymore. Now we have to give them something else. They are completely unprepared to have to confront that. So believe me, they are doing their crack cocaine. They're doing their lines. They're drinking their gin and tonic. They're fentanyl. They're doing everything here to have some escapism on this. This ain't what they're looking for. There are a lot of folk who are worried. A lot of people are worried about what will happen in that regard, because that is overturning the status quo. Listen to me. not because Donald Trump may get elected or not elected. It is an overturning of the status quo because of the agenda that may cause it to occur. Barack Obama's election was an overturning of the status quo because of our agenda behind it. Once Barack Obama pulled the bait and switch and his support collapsed, that showed that the agenda went a different way, and the final returns on Barack Obama's presidency was Hillary Clinton's loss to Donald Trump.
And deal with it, nigga.
Barack Obama did not suffer the final consequences of his actions. Hillary Clinton got the bill for what Obama did. Hillary Clinton got presented with Obama's bill. He sat there and threw the rock and hit his hand, and oh well, she got to hold it L. And he went running off. But by the way, that wasn't the last election. When the next election comes up, she's the one who takes it on the chin for everything that he tried to get away with. So you'd best believe they are very much concerned and worried about that to this day. Because what we're showing them are clear signs that we haven't forgotten. You notice you don't see nobody out there dancing. Kamala Harris done took off them Chuck Taylors. Nobody's really trying to put on the sideshow. Did you also notice they haven't tried to trot out Fat Joe or the usual celebrity binge? They got Kamala talking to folk, but you notice she's not talking to any black folk like that. They sent her to go talk to Call Me Zaddy. But they know who they don't want her talking to. You know why? Because talking to your black media puppet outlets, that's a negative. That's not a good thing. That's not a positive. That's a negative. To do that is a negative. And they already know what they're up against and what they're dealing with. The reason why we have not allowed the practices of bait and switch and conquer and divide to work here, we've stayed fixated on our agenda. So what they're going to try to tell you, the problem is with the men. Why are you trying to focus on the men? Why are you trying to focus on the men? What is it you're so afraid of? Why is that a problem? It's a problem because the idea that there will be a leadership structure other than you, a leadership structure outside of you, a leadership structure that is not coming to you, a leadership structure that is not looking to you, a leadership structure that is not looking to take its instructions from any of them. That's the difference. That's the difference. You see, the problem here is not when we talk, folks. The problem here is that they want to try to condition you to look for leadership. So show us who's the one Negro who speaks for all of you so that we can go ahead and co-opt him and he can get the rest of y'all in line. They had no expectation that we would enact an agenda. There is no leadership. There is simply one mind. You know what you all do. Well, there is no person setting the agenda. Let me be clear here, people. 164,000 strong. Despite YouTube's constant interference with the channel and whatnot, you don't get there with almost 5,000 people watching here live right now. You don't get this because the rank and file and the everyday person doesn't resonate with what you're hearing. That's not how this happens. And they know this. You get like 200 or 300 people watching. you don't get the numbers that we get consistently every week because we don't speak for the masses. You get these numbers because, yeah, the people resonate with this. If they didn't, they move on to something more entertaining, something more interesting. There's plenty of booty meat jiggling over there on OnlyFans and Instagram. There's plenty of rap music talk out there. There's plenty of video games on Twitch. There's a whole bunch of other things that you could be watching right now that would be downright entertaining. You don't need this. There's football games on and everything else. But if they're here, they're telling you this matters more than that and in substantial numbers. So what they go looking for are folk that they hope can corral enough people together and then tell them, okay, we're going to buy you off. And Roland Martin is just constantly looking for a damn payday on everything. No, they won't remind you about stories like we talked about last night. I'm not going to talk about that. That's dangerous. They go looking for the one Negro who's been sitting there bowing and screaming for decades and looking for a damn job. That's what the hell they go looking for there. They don't want these damn dangerous Negroes sitting around here who are like, hey, man, we're not looking for a job. We're looking for change. We make our own damn money. We ain't looking for none of that from you. We'll take care of that on our damn own. When we say cut the check, we mean cut the check for everybody. Cut the check for everyone. That's a big difference. Big difference. Don't believe me. Take a look at the bowling ball. You take a look at the bowling ball's channel there. You want to talk about the metrosexual? Be a man. This is a guy who sat there in front of Richard Spencer when asked, are you a black man? I'm a man. Lied on both counts.
Lie.
But by the way, take a look. Roland, once again, his only concern, Roland blasts Democratic PACs, political action committees, for, in caps, y'all, not spending money on black, but every damn time you turn around, he's showing up talking about you. Y'all need to give him money. Every time you turn around, he's telling you you need to give him more money. Not every, when he says black news outlets, he's talking about him. He's not a black nor a news outlet. Every time you turn around, he's telling the Democrats, throw me some more dollars. And just please understand, that's the way that game goes. I know what you doing. I know what you doing, you Big Mac built nigga. See, here's the way Roland plays the game. The way he plays the game is that the Democrats, they throw him a few dollars, enough to let him know that he exists, but not enough to be substantial. So they're like, okay, we're not giving you no money because you're not swinging elections in our favor. He then comes back and says, I can't swing the elections in your favor because you're not giving me enough money. So they give him some more money. And then he comes back and says, well, you still didn't give me enough. You still didn't give me enough. I need more. So that becomes Roland's tactic. Every time you turn around, he claims you didn't give him enough money. He's here to tell you about how much more he could have gotten done if you had given him more money. So consistently, he's talking. I want y'all to understand, do y'all understand what is different about we here in the new black media? Here on the Black Channel, folks, you've never, I want you all to think about this for just a few moments. Who owns this big hamburger built nigga? Who owns him? You have never, in my entirety of broadcasting, I have never, ever sat up here and asked any political party or any political action committee to send some dollars my way.
Nigga, please.
Now that's a track record you can run on. You all have never heard me complain that the Democrats aren't spending no money. I have ads from the people. You've never heard me complain that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and the Democrats aren't sending no money my way. Roland, every other week, actually every week, is reminding you and complaining that the Democrats ain't sending no cheese his way, while telling the rest of us that we don't need reparations. Y'all don't need no reparations. Democrats, throw me some extra dollars so I can tell the rest of these niggas they don't need nothing. I wanted y'all to understand that. By the way, you can't fake a track record like that. We going on 2 decades, and I have never even one time said I need a political party or one of their political action committees to give me $1. But all these other folk, Van Jones, Monique Presley, Bakari Sellers, we can go down the list, Roland Martin, all these other folk keep talking about the party needs to send them money. Well, we operate here independent of the political parties. Well, isn't that interesting? The people who are truly independent ain't putting on the cakes for these people. The folks begging them for money, every time you turn around, they kiss an ass. Hey, Roland, has Kamala ever given you that damn interview you was asking for and begging for the last damn 4 years?
And deal with it, nigga.
By the way, Roland, did she ever give it to you? While you're sitting up here talking about Trump's a chicken, by the way, has Kamala ever given you that interview yet? You've only been asking for it for half a decade. By the way, y'all, did she do it and I missed it? Did Kamala ever drop by with some chicken wings and some ranch dressing for Roland? Did she ever show up for that? Because he's only been begging and complaining about it now for half a decade. Did she ever show up for him? I'm just asking. See if somebody can catch him out there somewhere. Maybe they can ambush him at the drive-thru at Bojangles when he's trying to order a number 6. You should be able to hear that 1986 Volkswagen Beetle from 2 miles away, putting his way on up the road. Here he comes. Shouldn't be hard to see. Should be kind of difficult to miss. No, that's amazing. These niggas sit up here and kiss this woman's ass because that's what they're there to do. The only time they take her to task is when the check don't clear. When the money don't show up, that's when they start trying to talk back. Except Joy Reid, who ain't never gonna do it. But that's the only time they start talking back. And when the check don't clear. I'm not waiting for a check to clear. I can just say whatever the hell I want to. And I can speak in the people's interest, and what they're terrified of is that what you're hearing here tonight is in the people's interest. Let me be very, very clear about this, Andrea Mitchell. You got white men to look out for you. You have white men to look out for you, Andrea Mitchell. And in black society, we as the black men, we looking out over here. It's not going to be you coming down doing nothing. You have not done an investigation of George Zimmerman, the police here, the FBI, any damn thing else. With all of the outrageously enormous machinery of that so-called news journalism apparatus you work for, and yet you ain't lifted a toenail. We're the ones got to do that. We taking care of this over here. The only thing you can do is sit down, shut up, and listen to what we got to say. You don't have a say over here. You don't get to tell us what we're supposed to be doing. Let me be very, very clear to Miss Mitchell. You don't allow us to come into Jewish society and tell you what is misogyny. You don't allow us to come into Jewish society, Miss Mitchell, and tell you what is appropriate or what is inappropriate. You don't allow us to come among Jewish women and tell them what Jewish men should be saying to you. I just wanted to point that out because I'm like, okay, if you're so concerned about that, I just couldn't help but notice you haven't extended that ability to us. You taking liberties on NBC, and your high yellow negresses, all the mixed chicks, are sitting there bobbing their heads because they need somebody to pay their damn rent in Midtown, and OnlyFans is not could return their phone calls.
And deal with it, nigga.
Auntie, chill.
I said it. And I ain't lying. Diddy ain't the only one having freak-offs. Ain't that right, Jeff Zucker? Ain't that right? What was his the old man, Sumner Redstone. Oh, we gonna go in the crates. Sit your asses down somewhere. Sumner Redstone was paying out money all over the damn place. If you were a female and you stepped on his jet, he was squeezing them butt cheeks. That man couldn't even stand up. He was spending millions. Millions, people. Go look into it yourselves. Don't believe me. Sumner Redstone, CBS Viacom, before he died, he was spending millions of dollars. His underling, Les Moonves, got caught up. But only because Sumner was doing the same damn thing. Who do you think Les learned it from? Sumner was doing the same damn thing for decades, not years, decades he was doing that. Oh, there's some folks who don't like me saying that right there. My numbers don't usually spike when I talk about this right here. I have some white folk in my audience. Shout out to y'all here. By the way, we got to tell the truth about this. Sumner Redstone was doing that for decades. It was cool in the gang when Sumner was doing that, to the tune of dozens of women and millions of dollars. He was telling them he'd get them a handbag if he let them grip that thing. First they said no, he sent the handbag, then they said yes. And y'all didn't say a damn word. How many wives did he go through and potential wives he went through? And everybody knew the damn deal. Get on Sumner's jet and there's a payday. Everybody know that. The only chicks talking about Me Too are the ones who didn't get to hustle them draws as much as they thought they were going to. Oh, you ain't gonna pay? And I felt coerced. That's why do you think so many mediocre ass females are in cable television today, man? They're boring as hell. It's like watching paint dry. It's as boring as watching leaves turn colors. How do y'all think they got their jobs? Every one of these chicks, it shouldn't be a surprise. Everyone you hear about got a story. Everyone if they get a podcast or whatever, they got the stories. Every time you turn around, by the way, it's a line of niggas said you was hustling them draws. Couldn't help but notice. Always some little cute long-haired chick. Always some little cute long-haired chick. Once they get long in the tooth, it's like, okay, I know all the damn skeletons are buried at. Y'all gonna leave me alone. These men are a problem. The men who put y'all on wasn't the problem. Hey, Jen Psaki. I'm sure that Joe the Groper Biden, Joe Butt Cheeks Biden, I'm sure, hi, Jen Psaki. By the way, they all dress the same, y'all. Do you see this? The Ministry of Information? Yeah, they know how they gonna get theirs. Come on, Jen Psaki, she was there for what, a year, 2 years, and then said, okay, I'm leaving. That's it, she got her payoff. Come on now, folks, do you know that Washington, D.C. and New York City run on non-disclosure agreements? Jen done got hers. Okay, let me go ahead and, okay, if I get you a job at NBC, will you leave this thing alone? Okay, give me a job over there at NBC, I'm gone. Oh yeah, same thing at Fox.
What?
Oh, you thought I was gonna let you off the hook? No, I'm not a left-wing outlet or a right-wing outlet. I'm a black-wing outlet. By the way, same damn thing over there at Fox, and I'm not talking about Bill O'Reilly and Roger Ailes. I'm not talking about Bill O'Reilly and Roger Ailes. No, I'm not. If you're thinking like that, you're way behind the damn curve. This is business as usual. For all of them. Roger Ailes was just the groper-in-chief when he was alive. Bill O'Reilly was just another underling there. It still goes on. All these former White House press secretaries, little blonde-headed chicks thinking they're going to be the next Tommy Lauren. They go from the White House to cable television news, and then you can't move them. It's not like they're the explosive personalities who are so great at what the hell they do. Come on now. They get passed around like a talk coffee mug until finally they get the goods on some damn body. Now he got to keep her there so he can keep his little old position. Because she got the goods on him. That's how you get on in cable television. That's how you get on in Hollywood. That's how you get on in the music business. It's not about who got the most talent. It's about who got the most talents. Not about what's in your head. It's about what's on you or who is on you. And if you maneuver, it's like, okay, them fellas, he can't keep his hands to himself. He always running through the chicks, can't keep his hands with himself. They know who the hell to go after. Ain't that right, Governor Cuomo?
Damn!
That's why he thinks he wants to run for mayor of New York again. He's like, well, you know what I mean? The worst they're going to bring up is them chicks over there now. It's not like they're going to... it's not like they're going to find, no foreign dignitaries. No, I didn't take no money from nobody. I took some sex. I got some sex, but I ain't getting no money now, so you can't get me on that one. Yeah, no wonder you can't get nothing in our interest said. No wonder. So, of course, Andrea Mitchell doesn't want to hear about, by the way, the men over there in black society are setting the agenda and setting the talking points and setting the narrative that we're going to be speaking about right here. And by the way, there is nothing that I have said that Andrea Mitchell does not know. Andrea Mitchell knows exactly what the issues are. If she wanted to talk to any of us, she could do it. They don't, because they're trying to figure out how do we deal with this problem and neutralize the problem without amplifying it. And I just wanted to let them know, by the way, nothing you do is going to work. Eventually, at some point, you're going to have to sit down at the table at some point, but you're not going to circumvent it. All you're really going to do is let it metastasize. That's all you're going to do. Kamala Harris has a problem with men. And you all are not helping. Because there is also one other element that you have not considered. Please remember that 45 days ago, 2 months ago, Kamala Harris was the most unpopular politician in America. I think that she was slightly less popular than syphilis. Well, you all can play games about this, but understand something. Kamala Harris is in bad shape if she loses this election. She's in worse shape if she wins.
What?
I want you all to understand this. You reach a point of diminishing returns. Kamala Harris and the rest of her merry circus band of idiots and foul-ups, they're in bad shape if they lose this election, but they're in worse shape if they win. Jason, what are you talking about? Exactly what I said 4 years ago. People, I told you 4 years ago that I wouldn't sweat nothing if Joe Biden wins the election. I told y'all, remember, I had that historic program. Go back and listen to the program right after the election. I wasn't hiding nothing. I said what was going to occur, and it happened exactly the way I told you. I said the onus isn't on us anymore. It's on Joe Biden. And he's going to try every trick in the book to deceive and fool everybody and thinking that he's doing something for us. I said it's going to go badly because now he can no longer bring up any excuses. He has nothing else to hide behind. If he doesn't do it, whatever doesn't get done is going to fall in his lap. And what was happening 90 days ago? He was losing this election, walking away. Exactly what I told you 4 years prior was going to occur. Bam, there it was. And Kamala Harris was no better. They swapped him out. Hopefully a new name will save things. And what do you know? So to anybody thinking, well, if she do win, she'll squeak by with 50,000 votes. And anybody who thinks, oh, well, we're home free. Yeah, you thought the same thing with Joe Biden. And all it took was 12 calendar months of his incompetence, and everybody was ready to vote for a tomato can, then vote for him. So I want you all to know, if she loses, we've been there before, and if she wins, history will repeat itself. History will repeat itself. There'll be a honeymoon for about 90 days, and then when she gets in office and she's got to do something, baby, you can't yell about abortion anymore. You can't make an administration out of abortion. You're going to have to get something substantive done, and when that doesn't happen, everybody's going to start getting buyer's remorse. So believe me, we called it before. We call it consistently. If you want to know what the results of the next election will be, now you know what will happen, whether she wins or whether she loses. Don't expect Andrea Mitchell to be any happier either which way. She wants to maintain the status quo. We're just here to let everybody know that we are the people here to destroy the status quo. And we are not going to let that go. Not by a long shot. I want to thank everyone, and I do mean everybody, who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. My man, Mr. Richburg, thank you very much for your support tonight. Project Leroy, FBA Queen. We got a bunch of folks here who got giving memberships. Soapbox TV has been gifting out memberships. We appreciate that. Logic Before Reason. Lorenzo Carson, I want to thank all of you here for joining us here as well. We're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. When we come back, we will be discussing this and more. This is the Black Channel.
Are you looking for real financial advice? Thornton Financial is here to help. Certified financial planner Jason Thornton specializes in tax and wealth planning. Are you living paycheck to paycheck with no retirement plan? Do you need help with the IRS? Book your free consultation with Thornton Financial today. Budgeting, savings, debt management, and retirement. Even tax debt settlements. Get the advice you need to live your best life. Book your free consultation appointment today. Go to www.thornton-financial.com.
Hi, I'm Mr. B, and I welcome you to visit my website, mrbtheteacher.com. Explore our site for my latest book, my blog, and podcast that are packed with insightful articles, tips, and strategies to help students navigate the educational journey. Need more help? Check out my education consulting and tutoring services for engaging lessons, downloadable resources, and personalized learning plans. Please join us at mrbtheteacher.com today. Thank you all for listening.
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' Body Butter. With skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' online. That's ASHKICKIN.com.
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slavery and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all here this evening. And we've been discussing that Kamala Harris has a problem with men. And there are folks out there who are not happy about that. The old broadcast media, the cable television media, the people who used to hold sway over these things are looking around and noticing that their influence has waned significantly. The problem, of course, being that people are no longer following television networks for what they believe. They're having conversations among themselves, the most dangerous thing that could occur. You see, you're not looking to the peer pressure of corporate media, and they are refusing to come and have a conversation, which means, by the way, that is a good thing because they don't get to step in here and muddy the waters and pollute the conversation. We get to have a pure conversation amongst ourselves. I would also like for you all not to be deceived by the idea that we have to be the biggest and the baddest in the room. Damn, being the biggest and the baddest folk here. I'd rather have 3 people worth $100 million than 100 million people worth $3. You want to have power amongst yourselves, not just power in numbers. Being the most influential people is who you want to be. You don't want to be the most numerous. And their issue has been that we are very influential in this regard, and our influence is only going to grow. But please understand how these things happen. They take a look at results. And right now it's come down to crunch time. A lot of folk are worried because we're saying things openly we're not supposed to say. Why don't we just call it for what it is here, Andrea Mitchell? You got to understand, Kamala Harris is one of your pets. I will put the word Negro in quotations. So you see, that's why she's great and grand and wonderful for you, because she's bought and owned by you there. But that's not the game we're playing. You've grown weak and slothful. You've grown weak and slothful because as somebody who works in journalism, Miss Mitchell, you're not supposed to be ducking us. What? There's the whole problem about it there. You see, if the only folk y'all talk to is Bowling Ball Martin, who does not speak for the people, he speaks for the Democrat puppets. He speaks for the old Negroes who vote blue no matter who. He doesn't speak for independent thinkers. So in other words, it doesn't do you any good to, quote, invest in him, because all the people he's talking to already support you. They already drink the Kool-Aid. They are already going to go along with whatever you say anyway. You're not winning any new converts. There isn't anybody on the fence listening to Van Jones or Tavis Smiley or Tom Joyner or Bowling Ball Martin. Those independent people, the ones that you're down in the polls with, they're not listening to Roland. They're not going there and talking about, ooh, I so am glad he done this and right today, so I'm glad I did. You're not going to get any returns from him. You've maxed out your gains over there. Let's just be very, very clear about this. All the little old church folks, all the people still wearing their MC Hammer pants going to the Essence Festival.
And deal with it, nigga.
That's his audience. All the people, let me tell y'all right now, do you want to know who Roland Martin's audience is? Listen to me. As shocking and insane and crazy as this is going to sound, Roland Martin's audience are the, Barack Obama gonna do something for us soon. I'm talking about in 2024. These are the people saying that Barack Obama in 2024, after he been out of the White House for a decade, that he gonna do something for us now. That's Roland Martin's audience. The people who said Obama was gonna do something for us before he got elected, when he got elected and wasn't doing nothing, he gonna do something after he's reelected. Once he got reelected, he gonna do something for us now. When he didn't do anything for us in his second term, he gonna do something for us after he gets out of office. Been a decade, y'all just wait now. He gonna do something for us. That's Roland Martin's audience. That's them. With their walkers and their canes and their Schlitz malt liquor and their day passes to Disney World. That's them. Y'all know them damn commercials when they show the old black folk on the damn roller coaster. What the hell is this? That's his audience. Their cardiac medicine does not allow them to get on them rides, but there they are in the damn commercials. That's his audience. No, I'm not joking. Y'all are laughing, but by the way, I'm not kidding. That's them. I challenge any of you. Next time you standing in line at Disney World, if you got a Roland Martin t-shirt, they say, hey, what's going on, brother? They come waddling up to you, and they know young people coming up to you. Let me tell y'all something. When we talked about reparations in California, that was nothing but a bunch of young people wearing cut the check. The young people were wearing B1 cut the check. That's what showed up in California for reparations that Roland Martin blissfully ignored till he had no choice. If there wasn't nobody quoting him. The folks who are out here in the trenches, in the soil, getting things done, they're not quoting him. Andrea Mitchell, you wish it would be. Ma'am, I'm just giving you plain and simple analysis and statistics. The folks that y'all putting the money behind, those are the people you already got them. You already got them. It's not like Roland's going to bring more of them. So you can go ahead and keep doing that if you want to. If you think that's going to work. So far it isn't, but I just thought I'd give you the heads up. By the way, that's the definition of diminishing returns. Kamala Harris ain't even talking to black folks. She's over here with call me Zaddy. Let me see if I'm talking about abortion. Do you understand? So they sent out Kristen Clark. Kristen Clark has been sent out to try to get the black vote. Kristen Clark has been dispensed to go get out the black vote. She's been dispatched to come and convince us we should vote for Democrats. Kamala Harris is like, man, damn, I'm throwing in the towel. Let me see if I can get some white women to go ahead and sign off on this. That's where she's at now. Think for those of you who are late and didn't see this here before, this is Kamala Harris.
I want to take a moment, and can we? I want to take a moment, and can we try to think of any law that gives the government the power to make a decision?
I know what you're gonna ask
about a man's body.
No. Can you think of any laws that give government the power to make decisions about the male body?
I'm happy to answer a more specific question. But
Male versus female.
there are medical procedures.
Okay. That the government has the power to make a decision about a man's body.
I thought you were asking about medical procedures that are unique to men.
I'll repeat the question. Can you think of any laws that give the government the power to make decisions about the male body?
I can name a bunch of them. This is what she's got on her Twitter feed, y'all. This is on her Twitter feed here now. She's not talking about black folks. She's like, okay, let me get some white women who need some abortions. As if that matters. With the birth rates dropping as they are, and she's talking about, let's go talk about abortion. Yeah, she done gave up on that. Selective service, anyone? But among other things, she gave up on that. Yeah, you damn right they worried. They're worried because it's like, yeah, by the way, women see she phony and the men have a problem. Okay, without Andrew saying what the issue is with the men.
There's an undercount of the Trump vote. I think there is misogynation in all of this, black and white men. Big problem, but also the business world. They don't think.
Let me tell you something here, Andrea Mitchell. Don't you ever sit up here and curl your hook mouth vulture face to sit up here and talk about misogynation or misogyny among black men and white men. And white men is an afterthought. Black men have no misogyny whatsoever. You have to have power to have misogyny. You have to have protection to have misogyny. We are wrongfully incarcerated, wrongfully prosecuted, wrongfully imprisoned, wrongfully our rights taken from us every damn day of the year. We ain't got no power of any kind. Talking about some damn misogyny. Diddy and the Freak Off is not misogyny. Les Moonves and Sumner Redstone running a whole damn company that can sit up here and set the influence of national politics. That's misogyny. The folks who paid Diddy. Where Leor Cohen at? Who was paying the damn bills over there? By the way, that's another thing right there. It's a RICO until it's time to gather up the white men. By the way, are the white men who paid Diddy, are they part of the criminal organization too? What? Just a question, y'all. Isn't RICO supposed to follow everybody up to the top man? So the white men who paid Diddy, because remember, we've been here before with Death Row Records. Okay, they went after Suge Knight, but what about, Ted Fields and Jimmy Iovine? And what about them? What about the white men who were over death row? They were getting so they're not part of the criminal organization. Not them. The criminal organization doesn't start at the top. The criminal organization here starts in the middle. Young Thug, the criminal organization here kind of starts near the bottom. It don't go to the top anymore. A criminal organization is no longer organized from the top. It's now organized from kind of halfway at the bottom now. That's how it goes now. Now it starts at halfway at the bottom. These people will have you thinking that up is down and water is dry if you let them lead the discussion. That is why it's imperative that they cannot lead the discussion. Not now, not ever. And we cannot allow such a thing to occur. So yes, they are very, very much upset. They got a bee under their bonnets, and our job is to make sure it stays there. We see what y'all are doing and do not think we're going to back off of it, and don't think name calling going to change a damn thing, baby. We've been sitting up here. We built this on our own. We are not worried about you one bit whatsoever. We have our own infrastructure here, and we are watching it, and we control it, and it will speak in our interests. Anytime you want to come over here and have an interview, Andrea, you can do so. But hiding your heads in the sand, I know you all think your strategy is throw money at everything. If I just throw a bunch of cash at it, it'll go away. And that works. I mean, that is definitely a strategy that has worked. Right up until it doesn't. Throwing money at things, yeah, that is a strategy that I can't lie. It does work now. It does work. It's got a pretty long track record of working too. Right up until the day it doesn't. And y'all are sitting up here sweating bricks right now because you're wondering, is that day coming now? All that name calling and, ooh, you want to make these chicks over here happy with you. Andrea, that works on Roland Martin. He wants a job with you. That doesn't work on the rest of us. That literally don't work on any of the rest of us. We're not looking for a damn thing from you. So, what else you got? What else you got? If that's all you got, it's going to be a rough ride. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. If you are new here at the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend. Click that red subscribe button. Click that yellow notification bell. Join us each and every time that we are here. If you haven't been to our website, blackchannelfilms.com, tickets are on sale now for our new documentary project, 8 a.m. You speak about the new black media. 8 a.m. is on sale. We got tickets available here on sale in New York. Now they're available in D.C., working on our other locations as well. But New York and D.C., you better get them while you can. 8ammovie.com. That is 8ammovie.com. Do not be surprised if I surprise you. I want to thank Mr. Pressure and everybody else here who has contributed to tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Thank you all very much here. I don't have to beg the Democrats. We don't have to beg the Democrats or go along with their agenda. I don't have to sit up here and kiss ass or anything else. The street's going to hold me down. So thank you all very much for your support. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing. Thank you for watching live or recorded. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, black is the future and the future is a problem.